I don't know if you can hear all that noise. They are cutting down a tree up the block, which a while back I fought to save, but it's too old and decrepit now. They were cutting down all the trees, and I don't know. Anyway, so that's what the noise is. I was looking for my brush. Okay, so Tom Brady, right? It was so weird the other day when he all of a sudden was like, oh, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because he always said he was going to keep playing since forever. For forever. Not since forever. Since forever, he's been saying he was going to play for forever. And it's weird because it just feels like he feels like I feel, which he shouldn't, because he's Tom Brady and he has everything and he's a magical human being. And I'm a piece of duty, but I've had this feeling, I've been talking about how I don't know what to do. I don't know what the future is. I don't know what's going on. And it's like you have to live in this like netherworld of, I don't know, you know what I mean? And I was watching Gronk's press conference and he just looked, I don't know what he looked like. He just looked, I want to say befuddled. I don't know. It was a weird Gronk that I haven't seen before. So I don't know. It was clear from that game that Tom Brady was ready to win. The rest of his team wasn't. I mean, him, like I said, Gronk can't block and catch. Tom can't throw and catch. And neither of them are on the defense. Neither of them are the manager, which, I mean, the coach or the manager. Pardon me. But, coach in this case. So they can't make all the calls. They don't make the defensive calls. They can't handle that stuff. So if you can't do that, but you do everything you can to try to win, to go on further to the Super Bowl, and then it's out of your hands. And even though you feel great and you want to keep playing, if the powers that be are rigging it, or there's something that is making you think that, you know, no matter what you do, they're going to bar you from another Super Bowl, or, you know, the inefficiencies of others are going to hold you back. These guys are putting themselves on the line every week, putting their bodies on the line, potentially getting hurt anytime they go out there. Hurt a little bit, hurt real bad. I still don't know what happened with Antonio Brown. Obviously, he was needed. They needed more people for Tom Brady to target. What else can you do? I don't know if they were treated poorly. I don't know if Antonio Brown was made to play on an injury even after he said he couldn't. I don't know what the system is over there. The NFL in general seems to treat their players like crap. With everything, with all the rules, with COVID, and maybe they don't want to get any more vaccines, and that it was one and done, and then we're safe and we can continue on with our careers. If they're gonna double down and make people get boosters and boosters and boosters, and it ends up being an all permanent thing the way we live now. Like I said, I don't want to go forward in this. I haven't gotten any of that crap, you know. But it would be a shame if people like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady had to leave because of all this other bullshit that has nothing to do with them, you know, because their coach sucks or their team sucks, or because they're being pushed out because people feel like it's an old person thing. And this is my thing that I want to say about champions. I have been a sports fan for a long time. I'm not a crazy diehard of any sport. There are times when I focus on certain sports, so there are pockets where I knew everything about figure skating, and there are pockets where I knew everything, well, never knew everything about football, but I knew a lot more than I do right now in terms of the different players and stuff like that and the rest of the league. And there were times when I was like super into tennis. You know what I mean? So there are those pockets, different. It's not that I shift, it's just like what kind of time do I have, what kind of cable do I have, you know, what's my mind focused on at the time, you know, in my personal life and everything else. So, but over the years, I mean, as long as I can remember, I've liked sports. I mean, as a kid, I didn't really watch games as a small kid. I didn't have a dad, so I heard other people talking about the Red Sox and stuff like that. I was never a Red Sox fan. When I was growing up and I was in junior high and stuff like that, we had WPIX besides the Boston station, so I was able to watch the Yankees home games, and at the time they were winners when the Red Sox were not. And but I also liked the team members better, and I liked their outfits better, so I was kind of a Yankee fan. I did used to watch Bruins games while I did my homework. I remember doing that as a person in high school. I always, from the '88 Calgary Olympics, and I watched the Olympics before that. I remember Dorothy Hamill and Scott Hamilton and all that stuff. But I really, the 1988 Calgary games, really, I became a huge Olympics fan. And watching the Olympics, the reason I thought I wanted to be an interpreter was because I was watching them interview Viktor Petrenko, and I decided I wanted to be that person in the middle who was translating from Russian to English. Don't even ask me. I think I was 14 at the time. Stupidest thing I ever thought. But anyways, the point is I love the Olympics. I should have been gone in that direction. You know what I mean? Maybe not as an athlete, but, you know. So I've been a fan for a long time, and whether I'm a fan of the person or not, there are these GOATs, as they call them, greatest of all time. Or even people who, whether they're greatest of all time or not, they're greatest of their time. And once they start to get older, people within the system, people who talk about sports for a living, journalists, the people who do the commentaries and the play-by-plays, they start, oh, well, this one's old, and who's going to be the next one? I remember John McEnroe always doing that, and I like John McEnroe. Don't get me wrong. I haven't really watched tennis to listen to him in years because I don't, like I said, I don't have enough channels. But I always remember John McEnroe always looking for that new person. Like when Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi were getting older, he was like, now who's going to be the next person? They were looking at Andy Roddick and James Blake and all these other guys, and it was like, you know, I understand if you see sports that way and American tennis and all this crap and blah blah blah, but I never liked the idea. Okay, well they're 30 now, they should go away. Or, you know what I mean? Or, okay, they're at the end of their career. Let's look who's new. That's what they're trying to do with... That's what it seemed like how they tried to frame this past weekend. Because the younger quarterbacks won. Oh, that's really loud. All of a sudden. Because they cutting the tree and mulching it right on the corner. And I didn't think it was going to be that loud. The mulching is causing a problem. So, for me... I love excellence, and I wish I could be excellent at something. I'm not even good at anything. But when I see these people, and I see people be jealous of them, and we saw with Deflategate and stuff like that, there are people in this world who, they just hate people who are better than them, and they hate people who can do what they can't. And they want to see them fall. But then there's other people who, they figure, okay, well, you've had your time. Let somebody else have a chance. I never understood that, okay? Whether it's in figure skating, which there's a lot of that, or tennis, or any of these things, they figure, well, you won all those awards, you won all those trophies, you won all those medals, why don't you get out of the way? And it's like, well, if they're still the best, they shouldn't get out of the way. So for me, I'm thinking back to, like, when people retire. To me, if you're a great champion and you can still win, there's no reason to leave. They've said these things about Federer. They say this kind of stuff about everybody. The way I think great champions should go out. I remember Andre Agassi, to me, was the perfect example because he quit when he couldn't do it no more. Like, his back was so screwed up. He could not. His back was like, you're not playing tennis anymore. I don't give a shit about what you think about it. You're done. Okay? When you go until you can't go anymore, to me, that is what I would like to see. It's not my business. I don't run these people's lives, but to me, that's the way to go out. At the time when Andre Agassi was getting older and, you know, on his way out, my favorite player at the time was Patrick Rafter. And he just quit. And I was like, excuse me? Because as a fan of his, I know he had rotator cuff problems, and he had rotator cuff surgery, and me and all the other fans would do these little, like, prayer circle, if you want to call them, like, all together at the same time to, like, send as much positive vibes for healing for his rotator cuff and stuff like that. And he healed up, but then he quit not that long after for whatever reason. I still don't know why he quit. I remember there was a point where he was too sweaty for no reason. Like, he was playing one of the tournaments and he's walking and the sweat was pouring out of his tennis shoes, his sneakers. All right, I don't know if that's why he was having a dehydration problem. I don't know what his real reason for quitting was, but to quit, it just, all right, I'm retired. My mom did that, actually. Funny, they have the same birthday. Well, she's much older, obviously. But one day she was like, she called me. I was living in New York. She's like, I retired. I'm like, huh? What? You know what I mean? But if you can, to me, the champion plays till the end. Maybe that's from growing up watching the Rocky movies. Like I said, I probably watched Rocky. My love of sport probably came from the Rocky movies. And the idea that you're supposed to go the distance, and you're supposed to push yourself to the limit, and you're supposed to say, a fat chick sitting on the couch is telling you that. But that's what I feel like on the inside. My life sucks. I do push myself every day to keep going, even though it's not in a athletic fashion. I don't know. The people who play till they can't anymore, that to me, why would you leave anything? I mean, Brian Joubert was one of my favorite figure skaters. Now, he never won a gold medal or any of that stuff, or Olympic medal at all, but he was really good, and he was my favorite skater from his generation of skating. And you can, at the time, they didn't appreciate quads as much as they do now. It's all about quads and points and everything, and, you know, people from the generation before who probably would have benefited under the way they count it now, it's just timing and how they changed the sports and stuff like that. But he kept going, and, you know, to me, he went to every Olympics he could. Didn't do too great the last time, but he put it all out there. This, to me, is what you should do. If you can, I mean, you've got that talent. Now there's horns beeping at the... The tree doesn't want to go down, and it is using its power to... I need a zip. They made me lose my place. Okay, the point is, yeah, so they do this with figure skaters. I remember Yevgeny Plushenko. Now, he had injuries. I think they, like, put screws in, like, a metal plate crap in his back, and it was all screwed. And I think one of them popped. You know, there's an attitude, okay, you've had your time, you should move on. Tom Brady can still win a Super Bowl. Tom Brady is still the best quarterback, in my opinion. You could say you disagree, but you're not going to know until these other guys have been playing for 20 years. And you see what they've done, you know. When Roger Federer finally beat Pete Sampras's thing, I never thought anybody was going to get close to him again in terms of the number of Grand Slams. Now we have 3 guys tied, and they're trying to take Noel out. They're trying to take Novak Djokovic out by way of these other rules. And there's too much corruption going on. There's too much outside shit going on with sportsmen that is not allowing them to just play the game, you know. And I hate to think any of these guys get their legacies, their history-making legacies that will last on for all time, if it lasts, or if someone else breaks their records, fine. But if they're not allowed to make their records because people convince them that they're old, or, you know, circumstances that are outside the game, or circumstances inside the game where they have to carry the whole team, in the case of Tom Brady, because the coaching sucks, or the officiating sucks, or the rest of the team isn't, certain members of the team aren't on the level of understanding how to win. Yeah, I just think champions should go to the end, and the more I see them, trees drive me crazy. I just wish that, I feel like everybody's being thwarted. They're being thwarted by the powers that be within their sport, within their industry, within government. Everything is a complete mess right now. The fact that, like I said, Tom Brady's kind of like, I don't know. Tom Brady should not be saying that, he should not be, like, confused about what he's doing in the future. He hasn't been to this point, but the world is such that you have to, if you're a cognizant human being, you're a self-aware human being, you're here and you're living in the now, and you understand the world aware, you have to say, the world is changing, things are in such a way, I don't know what my future is. If you're intelligent, I think you know that you don't know what the future is, because we're all screwed up right now, and it's not our fault and it's not our choice. The lowest of the low and the guys on top, you know, and it's just like, as long as we're not the powers that be, as long as there are people that are in charge of us, because, you know, we live in a place that has a government, or some people work in an industry. Did they break their machine? What the hell, man? I can't believe this. I thought it was going to be like a low hum in the back and I was going to be able to do this. So yeah, the world isn't what it was. Under normal circumstances, I would be like, I hope Tom Brady plays until he's so old and crookedy that he like goes out there with a cane. But I don't care about football. I really, most of the sports, because of many different things, I have grown to not really give a crap. Like I said, I'm not young anymore. I've followed generations of players in each sport that I do watch, or skaters or whatever. So I don't have that fandom like I did when I was, you know, a teenager, when I first liked the sport and stuff like that. And you know, it's I hope he doesn't quit. I hope he does like at least one more year. But if he doesn't want to, I mean, if it's about his family and stuff, I mean, they're always there. We say Gronky because Vivi had a crush on Gronky. If you don't know that. So, I mean, if he's worried about missing out on his kids' lives and stuff like that, like, I think of football as a half a year sport at best, but they do have to still work out and do all that other crap. But if they're missing out on their kid time and he wants to back away and stuff like that, or these rules and stuff are getting ridiculous, or he really feels like he's being, whether the fix is in, or if he feels like it's too difficult to deal with all the other shit. Like, right now I'm thinking Novak Djokovic, and I'm just saying, how are they going to stop his momentum that he's had? Because it was momentum that was carrying him through to win all these Grand Slams. I'm not saying he's not skilled, of course he is, but I'm just saying that he was steamrolling, and there was like, there wasn't any person to stop him, so you have to stop him with rules, you know? And the people who make the rules, these assholes who make the rules, I mean, I'm gonna, if I ever escape my situation, I'll probably become an anarchist, because the way rules have done me in is totally not fucking fair. To think that rules are doing everyone in now because of how many rules there are, and rules are stopping people from their legacies. I don't know. I think champions should be allowed to and should play until they can't no more. That's my opinion, but everybody's going to do what's best for them. And I wish all these guys the best, and I appreciate the time I've been able to watch them play, and it's been a privilege as just a fan of awesome sauce people. And yeah, I really hope that he gets to make the decision that's right for him, and it's not because of bullshit, or it's not because of other people's failures.